This didn't happen without the input of many offices and people across campus who've been working on it all along, saying what they would like to do, what would work well, if they had extra money, how would they do it, pulling all these ideas together and then coordinating. So many people from financial aid to the counseling center, all across campus, residential life, advising, contributed to this and made it what it is. And we're willing to do so, all this extra work, when there's no guarantee it's going to amount to anything. So this time, finally, it did. So I thank all those people that helped, and thank you all who will be involved in implementing it, because that's the real fun but also hard and complicated part. And then I'll sit back there, I'm done with it, and you'll be like, what was she thinking when she put this in? Anyway, I'll reiterate just a couple of things, but then we'll get into the meat of sort of what exactly is going to happen and what's involved in here as we go. As we said yesterday, just the dollar figure, it is $219,993 per year. We will get that every year. There's no reapplication for next year or anything like that. In 5 years, we will submit again with everybody else again, but we will not be on the, we will have the advantage of the extra points this time. So unless we just drop the ball, hopefully we will have this grant then continuing as long as the legislature funds it. So that's the big issue. It does begin September 1, and one thing that was probably a little confusing, we don't have to be fully operational by September 1. We will not have students selected by September 1. That's when the grant period begins, our money is fully available, and we will start. But this first year, because we don't have a rolling existing program, it will take a while to ramp up. So we do have time, and I'll talk about the selection in a moment, but there is a lot that has to be put into place, starting with people who are going to be hired to actually operate this program. And then all the coordination with all of you on the details of how will this happen has to be all set up first before then we start serving students in the program. So there is a little time there, but not a lot. We will be getting up to speed very quickly. The staffing that will be a part of this, a director who will also serve as a coach, 2 coordinators who will also be coaches, so 3 full-time coaches who are also operating. I guess some of this is lower that you can't see it, but 3 full-time professional staff, as well as 2 part-time graduate counselor coaches, and a good bit of student staff, peer mentors, student assistants, extra tutors, and that kind of thing. So all of those people will be hired here as soon as possible, starting September 1 or whenever thereafter we are able to select and hire. And that is all going to be done through Dr. Murray's office, responsible for the hiring. And this program will report to in the academic affairs chain in that unit, but it will be involving people from across campus to support students. As I mentioned yesterday, we have a lot of students who are eligible for this program at Lee. This is going to make, this will really help only a certain number of those students, but we have many, many who can benefit. So we're very excited about it. As we said yesterday, 140 students is what this program will serve. That's the minimum, that's the target. That's how many we said we would serve, and that's about the number we can serve with this program. We will not attempt to do many more than that. It is limited in that way to a specific group of students. And these students have to meet eligibility guidelines that are set by the government in a very detailed way. First generation, low income, and that has to do with specific from their FAFSA, and you have to document everything for these students related to the low income level, or a documented disability. And the majority of these, 2/3, will be first generation and low income, will meet 2 of these criteria. all these students must have citizenship eligibility who can be served. So English language learners and international students who come in and need help, need extra help, unfortunately this program and the staff in this program cannot serve them because of the law. And all of these students have to have some need of academic support, but we define that, and that goes beyond just a test score. There are a lot of ways that students need support, even if they maybe have a high score or have a good GPA, but they can't figure out how to, what they want to do with their life, and they're wasting time or wasting money, and many of these low income, because they don't have a path. So there are many reasons that these students might need your help. And so these are students that are capable and want to succeed. They have to apply to be a part of this. We're not going to force this on anyone. They have to apply and say they will commit to this program. And there are a lot of things that they will need to be doing and engaging in to be part of this LEAP cohort. And so then we will select, the staff will select according to criteria, and that will be a learning process as well. How do you select well in the students that this can really help, but who really want to be helped and are willing to do their part? As Eric said yesterday, accountability. This is their program. This will be their achievement. This is for students who have obstacles in their background and don't have all the resources that some of our other students have, who want help and who want to succeed. And with this program, we can help provide that support. So in year one, then, we'll get all of these students accepted into the program, but it'll be a later schedule. And so probably not until late fall semester, starting really in the spring is when most of the services will really be running, because it'll take that long of a time to get staff up and running and then to actually do the selection process that is very well documented in this proposal of how that's supposed to go, how we said it would go, and so forth. And then verifying all the eligibility, which has to be documented and verified. Because once we accept a student into this program and say you are being served, you're a LEAP student, then we have to report to the government many, many things about the student for the whole length of, for 6 years through, no matter if they leave the next semester. We keep reporting on them until the 6-year term is out. Just as a quick, I don't know if you all can see this, an example of why there are many types of students who might need this. It just shows our 6-year graduation rate of our presidential and centennial scholars. The difference in the graduation rate for the non-eligible students who aren't first generation or low income or disability is 71%. Our SS eligible students, this is last year's data, 53%. So even for our top scholars who come in, who've got these great scores, there's an 18% gap in a 6-year graduation rate. So all of our students who are in these categories may be well served by this program. And I just wanted to I thought that was an interesting statistic to show you. This is not just for our students who are really struggling academically. There are a variety of ways these students need help. So to get our 15 bonus points, we have to hit certain objectives. So I'm going to stay on this. On the back of your abstract, I have more data about this you can look at later. But we said we would, for the people who are actually become LEAP scholars whom we serve, 90% of them will persist from 1 year to the next. That's not freshman to sophomore. That's from when they are in the program from 1 year to the next. They'll either come back or they'll graduate. And that's compared to an 81% of eligible students at Lee, and 89% non-eligible. We said 98% of these students will remain in good academic standing, mid-90s for everybody already, so that one, it's hard to improve much on that. And then our 6-year graduation rate, our goal for these students that are in this program is 60% graduation rate. We'll be keeping up with this. There's nothing that really you would worry about, but just to show there are hard objectives that we want to meet in this program. And so now for the details of the plans. The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. I think, I don't know if that's exactly right, but this is just a plan. And it's a plan that sounded good at the time, and the time might have been 3 a.m. The time might have been, you can plan all you want, but then when it comes down to actually putting it into place, it may not have been a good plan. Things can change, and they will change, and it's designed to be adjusted as we go according to what works. But here's what we said we plan to do. This you can't read, I know, but this gives just the developmental, we take them in. We're going to do a lot with them early before new student orientation, more than just the 1 or 2 day. It's going to be expanded, and I'll explain that. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, and then out the door in graduation. And this was just in our proposal to show the services adjust and change as the students mature and move through the educational pipeline as their needs change. And so that is impossible to read, but we'll go on to the actual components. First of all, we'll start selecting these students for the next cohort earlier, in the spring, in the summer, after they're already accepted at Lee. This is not a recruitment tool. We can't go out and recruit students and say, if you come to Lee, we'll put you in the LEAP program. We cannot do that. But once students are accepted who are eligible or may be eligible, we can contact them. And then if we can communicate with them early with the LEAP staff, we can start getting information and preparing them early for a smooth transition to Lee. Part of that will be an early week of orientation for these students prior to new student orientation. They'll do some extra things. They will be cohorted in residence halls. They will go through a panel interview. I won't explain that now, but on your abstract, this abstract before the data is what was the actual abstract from our application. There's a study that shows that this kind of panel interview makes a difference for first generation students, so we'll be doing that. Students will be having extra assessments so that they can have more finely tuned diagnostics for math and for writing, and we worked on this in collaboration with those faculty members. Non-cognitive skills, they will have assessments so we can have some information, better information on these students for the coaches to work with. Cohort bonding activities, almost like a mini summer honors, where they'll go do some fun things together and really feel a part of a group, and also be past the anxiety and nervousness once they start classes, hopefully, at least be further down the road. Early introductions to you as advisors, to their LEU 101 teachers, and to some peer mentors, and then some little workshops on how to get on Moodle and how to get on Portico from the very beginning before they even start classes. Extra financial aid counseling, coaching sessions, just a lot of intro stuff that they can just get adjusted more fully and over a longer period of time, so it's not just this overwhelming orientation. This, again, ideas, this will be worked out through all the people who are involved with those programs, and possibly some early job placement assistance. Give them a little heads up on student worker positions when these students are ones who most desperately need them. As far as the learning community then that might affect you all more, we are hoping to cohort these entering first year and second year students, kind of extend this first year experience into also a second year experience where they have more of a cohort that extends into the second year in some of their core courses. In addition to LEU 101, maybe they would all take New Testament together, so that then tutoring and supplemental instruction might be more effective, or at least efficient with this group, and they can have this support of each other. Some other core courses that we would hope to work out that they can be cohorted in, at least some of them. Some group tutoring will be then available for these students, in addition to our great tutoring services already provided. Sometimes our students don't access these services until they've already had significant academic challenges. So group tutoring from the very beginning, extra tutoring hours that aren't currently available, some tutoring in the residence halls because they're going to be cohorted. So can we take a writing studio session to them at 10 o'clock at night by a trained writing tutor from the writing center, trained by their faculty, but to come meet with these students in the dorm one evening when they're working on assignments. Those are the kind of things we're saying, enhancements, not duplicating what we already provide, but extra enhancements to those things that this grant will help pay for some of that extra staffing that will be involved. Tutoring, some workshops, LEAP academic advisors. You will still be their academic advisors, those of you who are faculty. But possibly in some disciplines, we would maybe, I'm saying we meaning the people, the staff, and in working with Aaron's office, identify one history faculty member, for example, who might take those handful of new history LEAP scholars and be that designated advisor for LEAP scholars in history until they get older and beyond and want to change their advisor because of their specialty interest or whatever. But when they start, maybe there will be one designated advisor in each disciplinary area who would work with the LEAP students who had extra training, and then also if that faculty member might have an extra interest in helping students with different kinds of backgrounds. Something to think about and to work on, and it may be different from department to department, but the idea would be to identify an advisor from each area who would be designated to help LEAP students. And in monitoring early alert system. This is one of these things to be worked about. We'll worry about the details later, but a good idea is to have an earlier alert with faculty member when you know someone hasn't shown up for the past week or 2 weeks. Who do you call? It's hard to know, depending on which situation, who to talk to, who to alert, how to alert them. Well, the coach, each student's going to have an assigned coach, and the coach will be the go-to person for every one of these students. But building in an alert system from faculty for academic, if they fail a test or if they don't show up or if you have a concern, there's someone to tell who then will be able to work with you in helping this student. There will also be academic and cultural enrichment activities throughout. They'll go together as a group to the Hunter Museum, and with their fee for college students, they get a whole full year membership, and things like that this group will be able to participate in. Also extra financial aid assistance with counseling, FAFSA help, things we already do, but there will be additional opportunities for that. Book vouchers for these students. These students are primarily low income, and you come and you have to spend so much money on books. Many of them might wait, as you all know better than I do, they don't have a book at the first day of class. And so for these students, like we do for other categories of students, we would provide book vouchers so that at the beginning, according to working out the details, but they would be able to get their books at the very beginning of the semester so that they don't start behind in that respect. As we said, job placement assistance, and then some scholarships. These are small scholarships, $1,000 per student. Some of this money comes from the grant, and some of it is contributed by the institution. It's not going to solve all their financial problems, but it is an incentive for them to participate in the program, to access the support, and it will help them also financially. And there's a lot of different, there are some, this won't be given automatically. They will have to have demonstrated commitment and engagement in the program before they get their award and so forth. There will also be financial literacy education, and this is required for TRiO programs. So we have to do this, and this will help our students as well in some financial literacy. Last couple of things, peer mentoring. This is just an expansion of basically our peer leaders, both in terms of every student will be assigned a peer mentor when they come into this program, if they're a freshman or sophomore. And they will have a peer mentor for the first 2 years, not just the first semester or first year. The peer mentors will be students, the plan is, who also have these similar backgrounds, who are also SSS eligible. once we get the program rolling, they will also be LEAP scholars. So you come, you do well 2 years, and then you get the opportunity to mentor younger participants while you're still in the program. And that provides you some extra income, leadership opportunities, and investment in the program. So it'll just be extra peer support, and there is a training plan involved with student life and first year programs to go along with that. And then the how you can help. And this is what I mentioned yesterday, but I know it was pretty confusing because we refer students, where, to whom, when, but we will be sending out information. The TRiO director will be announced, and at that time, when plans are developed, there will be information sent to you specifically how to refer a student, where the student needs to go, and information like that. There is no place to refer them right now. I mean, you could send them to me, but that would just be confusing to the student. So as you're thinking about it, I guess just be mentioning to students to listen for information about this program. Students will be informed in a variety of ways. So if they are know it's coming or have heard about it a little, when maybe they get that email or get that information through their gateway class, they have heard it before. LEAP is coming, pay attention. This might be a program that you might be eligible to apply for. And in the future, then there'll be more information about exactly how to do that. But we will want current freshmen and we don't want all freshmen, because then what do we do next year? And the next year we can't bring in any students. So we will want to select some sophomores and juniors this year who are doing well, but the extra support would be helpful. And also so that this program can be seen as a positive, great group to be a part of. We don't want to start it out, we want to be careful, I guess I should say, and we have been cautioned by other program directors who have this program, that when you start, pick some student leaders, pick people who are engaged already. Students, give this a very positive image on campus. This is not a program just for struggling students who aren't going to make it without extra support. Who would want to join that? That's me. So we want this program is a positive, wonderful thing, and the kind of students we select early will help set the tone for it as we move forward. So that's a better overview, and a lot of details all at once, I know, and probably more questions than answers. But I did want to kind of get through that groundwork. So then, what are your questions about this? And okay, we'll start there. Nathan.
Okay, so are you planning on implementing the peer mentor aspect of this in the first year? And if so, how do you do that if they've never been in the program before?
Yes, we do plan to implement it in the first year. The timing, I would imagine those mentors would, this is all guessing, it's for the people who are going to be directing it and running it to decide. At the time we're selecting students, we would also be recruiting and selecting the mentors, so that when the students are brought in, there are mentors there to be with them and to help them. There aren't any people in the program now, as you said, so I don't know how that will be done, but the students, they would be looking for students who are from similar eligible backgrounds, who now are juniors and seniors. They have achieved, they are being successful. They are great role models in that they've been there, and now they can help these students.
Now, we are asked to suggest, what I would love to have is a list of my majors with, are they eligible in these criteria? I don't need to know how much financial aid, but a yes or no. Are they first year? Yes or no. Do they have need? Yes or no. Do they have, and then I can get a committee of my faculty members to take a look at that and say, these are the ones that may be good for this program. I might think of a wonderful student, but they meet no eligibility.
That's a great idea.
And from that, I can make suggestions on peer leaders and mentors and people at any stage.
That's a great idea. So letting you all have a better idea of who might be meet the criteria, so that then if you are wanting to refer students for peer mentoring, you have a better idea of who to
A lot of us
refer.
already have somebody in mind in here, but some of us have nobody in mind, and we may know somebody that could benefit from this, but we don't know that they would qualify. So that's a great idea.
Okay, that I'm completely underprepared to take notes right now. Is someone there? Thank you. Okay. And for mentors. Okay. That's great. And we don't have to do 140 the first year. We were advised by other people who did it, said if start slower, be thorough and careful when you begin. Don't rush to get your 140. You'll regret it later. You'll be happy that you took your time, even if it's spring before you're still getting up to 100 students.
Well, that's my other question. Is it 140 total in a school, or is it 140 per class?
Great question. Total.
Total, okay.
So by the end of the first year, we want to have said to the government, we serve these 120 to 140 students.
Through the entire school?
Through the entire school.
Right.
But then moving forward, you only have 140 slots, so you only will bring in the number who either graduate or drop out. Hopefully, we won't have any of those, but that will happen. Tom?
So you'll be accepting freshmen, sophomores, juniors. Are the sophomores, juniors going to go through the exact same program as the freshmen? Or will the program that they go through be tailored to the year in which they are entering?
It would be, I believe, tailored to the year.
Okay.
I mean, they're not going to go back and do the early orientation, all that.
Yeah.
You would just start serving them at their place of need, right then.
I wasn't sure if they were going to serve as peer mentors later on, if you would want them to go through the whole program, but it would also be kind of redundant for them in many ways as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a just figure it out as you go kind of thing as well for the staff. Some students who are in there as a junior might be a terrific peer mentor.
Yeah.
But some students who are in there as a junior might not be, might need a mentor. Right, so that will adjust. But yes, the service, so the juniors and seniors, one of the other, I didn't even put there, help for graduate school preparation. Not only going off to get a resume workshop, but also some more focused, smaller group assistance on how to apply to graduate school. And there's some money for visiting some of those cultural academic enrichment. Let's take a trip up to UT Knoxville and see what programs are available, those who are interested, and demystify that for some students.
Sorry, super brief, because this will take 1 second. Are the scholarships one time or are they annual?
It would be annual while the student is in the program.
That's $1,000 a year?
Yes, $1,000 a year. This first year, it would likely only be $500 in the spring, because that's really when we would get going. Yes.
Thank you.
3 questions.
Go ahead.
It seems like this is really group-oriented. What about the unusual cases, like a student that starts in spring, or is not planning to be in residence halls, or is having such a struggle that they want to take a reduced load?
No, that's a great question. There is flexibility to allow for that. So if they bring in, if the program brings in a new cohort, they would likely leave some spots available to pick up students who decide at the last minute, or students in the January who come in as a transfer. Definitely, that would be part of it. We feel like you would get the best benefit for the students if you start them coming in and they can be part of that whole process, but you never know when another student's going to drop out and when you would need to fill in. But most program directors seem to recommend that you leave that flexibility. You can add students into the program at any time, and it's just up to the program staff to decide when they're going to do most of those students. But if there's flexibility for case by case on just about just about everything except eligibility criteria from the government. That is not negotiable. Oh, sorry, you had 3 questions. Go ahead.
Well, I think you covered most of it. Is there a minimum load the student would have to take to be eligible for this sort of thing?
Full-time.
Has to be full-time?
Yes.
At least 12
Yes.
hours?
If I'm remembering, I do get a little confused between which program sometimes, but I think it's full-time, but I'm not positive about that actually. I just, I'd say we mostly want to serve the full-time students. I don't know if it knocks them out if they're part-time. Alan?
Yeah, awesome stuff. The one well, actually I have 3 questions, but first question is, I don't see much in the plan regarding task management, sort of organizational skills development. I think a lot of these students come in with not knowing how to actually organize a very regimented life that academics requires, because they've never been in that before. So that kind of coaching on those skills particularly, I think would be really beneficial. 2, question would be, where will this stuff happen? And I'm guessing that some of this money is not, accessible for facilities development, but I mean, I know that there are very limited places at Lee to actually study. And there are Wi-Fi free zones where there's no distractions. The library smells like mold, and there's books everywhere, which is a distraction. I'm saying that from personal experience because at Indiana University they had soundproof booths in the library, multiple soundproof sort of white rooms where you can zone out everything with glass doors, so you know nothing fishy's going on inside there, but they can use them for hour to 2 hours reserved slots.
Plus, because it's a superior university.
So
Great.
My 3rd point,
Okay.
which is the cohort classes. I like the idea of the cohort sort of model, but putting them in specific classes sounds a lot like learning disabilities classes for people who just don't make it, and there's a lot of stigma on that.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I'll try and remember that. I respond. No, that's good. These are great questions. Number 1, non-cognitive skills. It's a big buzzword for the U.S. Department of Education. We actually got bonus points this year for implementing a program that addressed non-cognitive skills. So you'll see the study on CP 1 or 2 based on non-cognitive skills. One of the additional assessments they're going to have coming in is going to be a self-efficacy and study skills questionnaire, and then they will have an intake assessment by their coach that will cover non-cognitive skills. We're also got, well, this is a different grant, but we're hoping to get an electronic, something that asks them and tracks these issues like time management and goal setting and self-efficacy. This is going to be something from the very beginning that is a part of this program. And the coaches will be trained to review that assessment and discuss these things with the students. And then from the very beginning, one of their first sessions, we had to prescribe all this in the details, is their goal setting session. And what skills, going over those assessments, and what skills do they need to work on, and what skills, will help, do they already have that are strengths that can help them to be successful. And so that will be coached and taught. There'll be workshops on those issues, as well as a lot of self-awareness going on for the students from early on. So that is going to be a part of this program. Exactly. A lot of students are capable, but they can't get out of bed in the morning or whatever the issue may be. So there that is addressed, but there definitely will be ways to implement that you all can help and suggest. The location is right now temporary, and it's still up in the air. Dr. Murray may want to address that, but either way, it's temporary this year because then we're about to have a big turnover move in facilities next year when nursing opens up and we have the other Old First Baptist open up. Then we will have more space. But LEAP will have its own suite of offices and facilities. Part of the plan for that is a tutoring room that students can use. This money cannot be used for any of the construction and all that. But we have another grant that we're waiting to hear, and it may not happen, but it has a lot of money for a lot of other types of things for the whole campus that will possibly impact what we can do here. But that's a great point about the rooms and what we will use, and any suggestions about that as that's being developed, because that's fluid. We said it's going to be centralized, it's going to be accessible and easy and student friendly. It's not going to be way out in the fringes where students, it's not in their regular path. But other than that, we're TBA. Working on that. The third thing then was the cohorting in classes. The idea for that is more in these large early first and second year classes in which students can maybe get lost. They would be assigned to the same class. So they may have the same assignment. So if they have a group tutoring session later, they're not all doing different things at different times. It would not be No, the only gateway would be that. But Dr. Murray, did you want to? Yes. Yeah, it may be in a comp, and which is a smaller class, but yeah, there would be other students in those classes. And that is definitely something the faculty will be involved in, the department chairs in working out.
I'm sorry, we haven't really seen a breakdown of the budget here. Is there any set aside within this grant for special equipment for these students? This sort of goes along with your question. Beyond just facilities, for example, I have a student who's blind and needs incredible support with having all of her classroom materials set in Braille. And it comes at a huge cost to the university, and it's really inconvenient for us to get those materials. Braille, the turnaround time can be in weeks, not days. Do we have any part of this budget set aside for situations like that? Or what happens when we have a Stephen Hawking sort of student who shows up? What do we do in those cases, and does this grant cover things like that?
This grant does not provide funds for that kind of thing. And in fact, we can't even give loaner laptops to students out of this grant. Nothing for the student specifically that the student gets. It's only for the program management.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Do we have like an overseer for the Braille machine or the machine itself for the department that can be a resource for
Yeah.
this?
We don't in this budget. It seems like a lot, but when you talk about all that staff, it is really very limited. And in fact, since we already provide, even though it's costly, we already provide we provide wonderful services for students with disabilities. And we have LaJuan Stout in her office does that already well. And when you look at the retention and data, students with disabilities are right up there with everyone else. They do not have lower rates of retention or graduation or anything. So in some ways, we aren't even really targeting this for students with disabilities, although this is a part of this whole program, because we are providing those well. And so some of those determinations will have to be made, but there is not extra money in the budget for that kind of thing. Not even the computers for the learning lab. That's something Lee's going to have to pay for when we do this. And all the desks for the staff and all that. It's a pretty good upfront cost for Lee as well for starting it. Tom?
Fine, you may have touched on this. It seems like many of the services you're suggesting would normally be done out of academic support. Is this going to be done in conjunction with academic support in the LaJuan Stout's office, or is it going to be like a separate, they'll do all of their own tutoring and things like that in-house? Does that make sense?
It'll be, yes. Okay. It'll be very well coordinated with academic support.
In conjunction with that?
Yes. Right. And so that it doesn't, we have to supplement, not supplant, with federal funds, and it will enhance or provide some extra. So an extra 5-hour-a-week math tutor, an extra 5-hour-a-week writing tutor just for LEAP, but that's in addition to they'll be plugged into the existing tutoring, the writing center, that kind of thing. So they will be in close connection. And in fact, there will be a student success committee that will be formed that this director and the staff with this will be part of, so that communication stays constant and everyone's on the same page, so we don't have redundant services, and so that everyone is working together. Even though this program will only serve a specific set of students, we don't want to duplicate effort.
Certainly. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
okay, William?
You may have mentioned this in an earlier meeting, but are there particular benchmarks that we need to be aware of that determine whether or not we are successful each year in this grant?
The benchmarks are we serving 140 students?
Okay.
And those 3 objectives, do we hit those 3 objectives? And it's a formula that extensive annual performance report information on each student is turned in every year. And the government takes all those reports and they feed it into their formula for their bonus point system.
So we don't have to graduate a number of students who come to our program who may have been enrolled this as a freshman, and then they may transfer out somewhere later. That's not a mark against us.
It is a mark against us. We have to hit our things to get the full bonus points. And we may not get the full bonus points, and we'll learn as we go. And again, we're just this is where we lost it last time. We put a 9% increase in persistence, and all 3 reviewers gave us 0 out of 3 points and said it's not ambitious enough. The standard is it has to be ambitious yet attainable. And it depends on your institution and your baseline. So we were attainable, but we did not get partial credit, apparently. They said it wasn't ambitious enough. So where do you put that number in? So we're trying to get the grant. So we set the number as high as we thought we could go without being too high, but without being too low. Whether that's a valid number, we will know in a few years, but that's our best guess with the people who know how those things work, not me. But
A couple of thoughts come to mind. I'm sure the administrators have already thought about it, but you're talking about central location.
Mm-hmm.
As nursing opens up, you've got that upper floor of the Dixon Center, which is very centrally located,
Mm-hmm.
make a good complex. And of course, the business folks, when they move to Walker Memorial, make a good location. But
Yeah.
that was my main point. Personally, I think many faculty feel the same way. I think one of the most important things we give students is a realization of what their strengths are.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, is there any way for maybe having some special input or special assistance from the SVAs over in the Center for Calling and Career beyond what students would normally get through the Gateway class?
Yes, and that's a great point. This, we include information about coordination with calling and career in this, and talk about the SVAs. And in fact, there is just an extra accountability measure on the part of the coaches to ensure that the students are engaging with these SVAs, and that if they are undecided, they're taking extra career, in addition to StrengthsFinder, we have money for the CISS, Campbell Interest and Skills Inventory, for them to take that during that leap start. So they have more information and they're having more conversation as needed about their strengths and about what does this mean about my direction and major and so forth. But yes, there is in here in writing, but actually how that plays out will definitely be something that those who are SVAs and those faculty who work with that can suggest what would be the best way to do this. But that's you're right about that being an issue.
Let's say we have a student who is an A+ student,
Mm-hmm.
and their only qualification is that they're low income.
Mm-hmm.
What does the program offer that student besides $1,000?
The opportunity to help.
Yes.
As a mentor?
Yes, leadership opportunity, and maybe that student has other concerns that could potentially derail them that aren't necessarily academic, family concerns or some other things. The program will help them, but when we have so many eligible students and only a certain number of slots, the big difficult task that will be a moving target for the staff is, how do I pick the students who will most benefit? That student could be part of the program and could be served, but they won't get the most benefit out of it because some of the benefit might be wasted on them. So
those categories, are they 20% this category, 20% this category, or does that change?
Anyone is eligible, but then when you take all of them as a group, it's something like 2/3, I think is the thing, must be both low income and first generation. Or, I mean, there's sort of have a disability, and those with a disability, 2/3 must also be low income, or it's kind of a multi-part answer. So the majority will be low income and first generation, but all of them don't have to have multiple eligibility criteria.
The more you have of those criteria, the better.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and the research shows that the more challenges you face in persisting and completing college. So really finding that sweet spot of the students that will most benefit from this program, I think will be a learning process for the staff and for all of you. You don't want to waste a good program on a student, but you also don't want to waste it in that they don't really need it, or waste it in that you can provide all the support you want and they're never going to take advantage of it and they're going to leave anyway. So you want to find the ones of our many who can benefit, and that'll be hard. Yeah.
Okay, 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
One of the points to qualify was something we determined more in-house, so the need is seen by us. How does that factor into those percentages? And how clearly does that have to be defined?
It doesn't factor into the percentages at all. It's just, we have to, when we then report on these students, we have to put something in there that shows what their need is, what kind of need for support they have, which could be anything from they're undecided and they don't in a major, or it's academic, they have a low score. There are a long list of things that you could put in there and that we described as various types of need for students. A student may be first generation and is a really great student, but is intimidated about asking a professor something, or going and walking to another office and taking the initiative on something, let's say, with professors, or there will be a variety of ways to define it, and that's up for our program in their selection process. And in some of the initial application, the student will have to be asked, what kind of support do you think you need, or how can this program help you? There'll be ways that the student can say, here's what I need. But it does not figure into those percentages. But then that's part of the selection, is weighing the level of need and how they choose those people. And I don't know exactly when it's on the ground running. That's going to be hard to make those choices. That will be a difficult task, I would think. So is that kind of?
My other question was,
Oh.
with these first cohorts, will those juniors or upperclassmen get all of the assessment from sort of the Leap Start part of that? Are we going to catch them up to speed with at least that portion, or are they going to jump in sort of without that?
That's a great question. I don't know. I would think, I'm just guessing, I would think that if they need any of those assessments, then we would have that available for them. And some of the assessments, though, they would already be passed, so however they can be helped, then I would think that they would be. But so it would be more, I think, on a as needed, kind of case by case as we get those first few. This first year is going to be different, and how many juniors, do we pick a senior? Do they really need it? But then again, if we don't pick a few, how many spots are we going to have for our incoming class next fall? So that'll be an important question to think about. Or did someone wait, Tony?
How will the students how is this being made available to them? They will know they can apply or what?
We had to list a long list of all the different ways we're going to inform the campus community, the local community, every community is going to get informed in about 5 different ways. So they, through faculty, through their certain classes, through email, I would say posters, just basically as broadly spread information as we can, we will let students know of the opportunity. We want everyone to know the opportunity. That way, if they are interested, they can apply. But it'll be new and they won't know what it is. So that's why faculty, knowing to be able to maybe mention it to students or to even make announcements once there's more information, to encourage students who think they might be interested to check out the program, to talk to the staff and see if it's something you'd like to apply for.